Hi readers, Chris here. Welcome to my bookish channel, and today I am doing the mid-year freak out tag. That's right, we're halfway through the year. Oh my god. I want to talk about the books that I've read so far. When I look back, this year has been interesting for me because I feel like I have definitely read a lot of recommendations so far this year. Recommendations from other people on Bookstagram, on BookTube, just a whole bunch of stuff. But honestly, I haven't read a lot of books that I absolutely love. If I had to do a top 10 list right now, I would have a really hard time. When I was looking through the books I've read so far this year, there's only about 4 that I really liked, which is not to say these other books were bad, they're just okay. I don't remember off the top of my head who created this tag, but when editing me goes and verifies later, I will put it in the description box below. So let's jump in with question number 1, which is, of course, such an easy question. Best book so far this year. I hate to do this, but I can't help how I feel. My favorite book so far this year is actually a reread for me, and that's going to be Misery by Stephen King. It's no contest because Misery is one of my favorite books, not just of this year, but of all time. It is an all-time top 10. If you want to know why, I will put a link to the full-length video I did breaking down why this is one of my favorite books, one of the best books ever. So nothing that I've read this year has topped what I feel for Misery. There have been a couple that have come close, and I'll mention some of those, but none that have blown my mind and blown me away the way that Misery does every single time that I read it. Question number 2 is best sequel so far this year. I have definitely read a lot of sequels this year, and I don't know if this counts as a sequel because it's technically the 3rd book in the series, but I picked The Age of Heroes by Brandon Sanderson. This is the 3rd and final book in his Mistborn series, or Final Empire, depending on where you live. And yes, this is definitely going to be a top 10 book of the year. I absolutely love this book. My favorite book in this series is The Age of Heroes. I love the way it ended. I thought it had an amazing ending. It's got amazing characters. So much good stuff about it. Yes, it's still not quite my favorite like Misery is, but it's definitely a close second and definitely one of the best sequels I've read this year. Question number 3 is, what is a new release that you haven't read yet that you want to? And I have a couple new releases that I want to read that I haven't yet, and the one I picked for this technically came out last year, but it's been less than a year, so I think it still counts as a new release because it's new to me, and that is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I don't know why I haven't read this book yet. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. I picked it up because I enjoyed her Caraval series. I haven't gotten around to it yet. I don't know why. I want to. This is like one of the books I want to read before the end of the year because I don't want to keep putting it off because I know the next one is coming out, but just hasn't happened yet. I don't know why. If you've read this one, let me know what you thought about it and if I should bump it up on my TBR. Question number 4 is, what is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year? I know I should have looked this up before I did this video, but I did not. So my most anticipated release for the second half of the year is actually going to be the 3rd and final book in the Last Hours series. So this is the newest series by Cassandra Clare, her Shadowhunter world. I've only read Chain of Gold. I still have to read Chain of Iron. I think I'm going to mention that later in this video. But the 3rd one is coming out. I believe it's in November, last I heard, unless the release date has changed, in which case I'm totally wrong about this, but that's okay. For now, the 3rd and final book, whose, if there's a picture or name, I'll put it up here whenever I do editing. This is what I am most looking forward to. I love this series. There is another book I am very much looking forward to, and I've heard a rumor that it's coming out in the fall, and that is the 5th illustrated Harry Potter book. if you collect the illustrated Harry Potter editions, the ones specifically illustrated by Jim Kay, he has been leaving hints on his Instagram that the illustrated version of Order of the Phoenix should be coming out in either October or November. And if that's the case, then I will definitely be picking that up as well, because I have the others and I need a complete collection because that is who I am. Question number 5 is, what is your biggest disappointment of the year? No question, my biggest disappointment of this year was Wolf Hall, which I don't even have a physical copy of anymore because I unhauled it, because that's how much I disliked that book. Already did a rant about it, or have talked about it, but I was really looking forward to it because I love books about Tudor England and King Henry VIII and his wives. And this book was just so long, so dry, so boring. I hated it. It was terrible. I unhauled it. I unhauled all my Hilary Mantel books because that book just totally turned me off to her. And it's a shame, but what are you going to do? Question number 7 is, what is your biggest surprise of the year so far? For this one, I actually picked A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee. Now, I've been getting a lot of book box books. So I used to do Spearcraft, and then now I'm doing Owl Crate. And the books that I've gotten have been hit or miss. So I kind of don't really have high expectations anymore because they tend to be very YA books. So they've got very YA characters, very YA plot. And not that that's a bad thing, but sometimes it just really leans hard into those YA tropes that I don't, because I read so much of them, sometimes I'm not in the mood for it. But this book in particular really surprised me. It's very twisty. It's a little bit of a mind confusion. It's got an unreliable narrator, which I think is super, super cool, because that means you don't know if the person telling the story, is she actually crazy? Does she just think she's crazy? Or is someone messing with her? And you don't know. And I love that. I thought this book was super fun. It really kept me guessing. It kept me on my toes. It was wild, and it was definitely a pleasant surprise. Question number 7 is, who is your favorite new author? Now, this one was hard to pick because I had to pick between 2 authors that I discovered this year that I really, really like, but I decided to go with Catherine Arden. So she wrote the Winter Night trilogy, and I've only read book 1 so far, which is The Bear and the Nightingale, and I can already tell that this is going to be like one of my favorite series. It's just so good. It's so good. It reminds me of like just a classic like fantasy tale, and with awesome characters, an awesome plot, fantastic world building. I just love it so much. So I can't wait to read the rest of the series. And if she's written anything else, I would definitely pick it up and add it to my collection. Question number 8 is, newest fictional crush. Now, I don't really have fictional crushes. Like, every once in a while, I'm like, ooh, that's a cool character, or something like that. So it was a little bit hard for me to pick one here, but I decided to go with James Herondale from Chain of Gold, Last Hour's Shadowhunter World. I don't know. I really like, honestly, all the characters. I think James and Matthew and all their friends, I think I kind of have crushes on all of them. But I picked James specifically because James has a really interesting arc in this book where you have Cordelia, who like really loves him and he kind of loves her, but like because they're friends, they don't really know how to, tell each other because they don't want to ruin their friendship. And then on the other side, there's this girl, Grace, who's very mysterious, but she's very beautiful. And James is also like kind of has feelings for her, but he doesn't see that like Grace is manipulating him, where Cordelia is probably his true love. At least that's kind of what the story suggests. That's probably how it's going to go because it's a YA. But anyway, so there is this classic love triangle here, and I do love me a classic love triangle. So I picked James Herondale for this for lack of a better choice. Question number 9 is, who's your newest favorite character? And oh my gosh, there's some really great ones to choose from, but honestly, this one was no contest for me, and that is going to be Lucy, aka the son of Lucifer, from the House and the Cerulean Sea. If you've read this book, you'll know exactly why I picked Lucy. How can you not love a little boy named Lucy who is the child of Lucifer? I mean, do I really need to say more? But Lucy is he's so fun. He's a little boy, and because he is the son of Lucifer, he's super powerful, and he occasionally kind of loses control of his powers, which makes him incredibly dangerous. And he talks about how he has spiders in his head, so he's like a little bit crazy. But at the same time, because he has been raised by Arthur, who is this like super kind and caring person, Lucy is actually like acclimated to like a normal life where he has friends and siblings that he cares about, which makes him like a good person. So he really struggles with trying to figure out, am I Lucifer or am I, Lucy, someone's kid brother. And he's only 6, so he's got a lot of time to figure it out, but he's just so cool. He's such a cute character. I just love him so much. Question number 10 is a book that made you cry. Now, luckily, I haven't had too many tear jerkers this year. I'm not someone, it takes a lot for me to cry in a book, and I shouldn't say a lot. Like, certain books just hit me in a way, and usually I say if a book can evoke a physical reaction like that, like tears, that means it's doing something right. So my pick for this is actually going to be The Wishing Spell, the first book in the Land of Stories by Chris Colfer. This is a middle grade fantasy story, and I mentioned this in my wrap up, but the first few chapters of this book made me cry. Why did it make me cry? Because we have 2 orphans that are being raised by a single mom, and their mom is really struggling financially. I was raised by a single mother growing up, and I saw her go through a lot of these same struggles. So when they talk about the fact that like their mom had to miss their birthday party because she had to pick up an extra shift at her job because she needs the money, but like obviously she didn't want to miss her kid's party, like, oh man, I felt that so deeply that it made me cry. Like, I'm trying not to cry just thinking about it. But needless to say, this middle grade fantasy made me cry. It's making me cry right now, but it's a really cute story. Whew. Okay, next up, question number 11 is a book that made you happy. And I don't think there's any book that's made me happier this year than Crave by Tracy Wolff. And when I say happy, this book just made me laugh out loud. It made me laugh, it made me chuckle, it made me feel warm inside, because this book is so ridiculous. It's so over the top. It's basically an updated version of Twilight. So, young girl, vampire lover. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But it's really fun, or at least it was to me. So I would definitely say this book, Crave, definitely one of the funniest books this year and made me happy. Question number 12 is most beautiful book you've bought or received this year. Now, technically, this book was in my December Owl Crate book box, but I did not get that box until I think it was either the end of January or beginning of February, because there was like a huge delay in shipping. So because I got it this year, I'm counting it, and that is going to be Skin of the Sea by Natasha Bowen. I mean, first of all, the color of this book, I've never seen a book this color in my entire life. So if that wasn't amazing enough, this book has gold sprayed edges. And yes, I picked it up and I started reading it because it's too pretty and I couldn't help it. Now let me show you the inside of this book, because it literally just keeps getting better and better. So first of all, we have our inside cover that basically looks like the ocean. It's the ocean. Absolutely beautiful. And then the hardcover of this book is in a language come forth. It's a special language in the book. I mean, look how beautiful that is. And it's got a gold shell on it. It's all these beautiful golds and greens and aquas and turquoises. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And then the reversible dust jacket, we have, of course, a beautiful picture of a sea at sunset. We have waves, and we have all of the colors that you normally see at sunset, the pinks and the blues. And then we have our main character here sticking her head out of the water. And she's got this beautiful turquoise necklace on, a gorgeous headdress, big gold earrings. I mean, it's just, this book is just, it's gorgeous. It is gorgeous. One of the prettiest books I've gotten so far this year. Question number 13 is, what is a book that you want to read before the end of the year? I have a lot. I have so many, but just to pick one, I am picking Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I have been wanting to read one of her books since I heard about her, like a year or two ago, and I've been collecting them. I have this one, I have Velvet Was the Night. I've heard such good things, I just haven't gotten around to it, so I made a pact with a friend of mine who has read this, that I would read this book before the end of the year. It's not on my TBR for this month, so I'm hoping to get it on there by September or October. I figure Mexican Gothic, October, Halloween, that might be a good time for it. We'll see, but definitely want to get this one. I'll check back and let you know if I actually make it. And finally, that brings me to question number 14, which is, what is your favorite video that you've done this year? And it was actually really fun to look through all the videos I've done this year. I had trouble between two that were really fun, which were the cover war tag and the birth year tag. But I decided that my favorite video I've done so far this year is actually the book cover tag. I will link it above, but this tag was so much fun. It was actually created by BookBuzz, my friend BookBuzz, which I'll link down below. But it's a really cool chance for me to like show off some of the cool covers that I have in my collection. I thought that was super fun. Hopefully you found it fun as well. That is it for the mid-year freakout tag. Most people have already done this one, but if for some reason you haven't, then consider yourself tagged. Let me know if you do it. This is just a quick reminder, if you haven't entered my giveaway yet, please check out my video from last week, which I will link below, because you still have time to enter until this Sunday. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, please subscribe to my channel for more bookish stuff coming your way soon. All right, everyone, happy reading.